My name is Elena, and you can find me as Elena Nikolova on several platforms online. For the past 10 years, I have been working as a 2D animator for a mobile game studio, also for various projects, also for a TV series. I've also freelanced as an illustrator and currently working as a 3D animator for Snapshot Games. It's an independent video game development studio based in Sofia, Bulgaria. It was founded in 2013 by Julian Gollop, the CEO of the company, and David Kay, the president. Julian is best known for being the original creator of the XCOM franchise in the 1990s with UFO, Enemy Unknown, and XCOM Apocalypse. In addition to him, the studio involves also developers who are industry veterans with working experience for studios like Ubisoft, Crytek, Hemimont, and others. And I joined the team in the beginning of the currently developed project Phoenix Point. It's a turn-based, tactical, and grand strategy game. The story takes place in the future, where an unusual virus is discovered, which excites the scientific community. It has a massive genome, and only 1% of its genes match anything that is in the current database. The human began mutating, a strange mist is rising from the sea, and the mutagens began invading the land. The human population is decimated a lot and forced to gather inside heavens, forming 4 different factions. Each one of the faction is totally different from the rest of them. They have different views about the world, different psychology, you can say. And the Phoenix Project is a worldwide organization that is designed to arise when the world is in peril. So that's how the player is put in the command of global battle against the mutating alien threat. By saying mutated, it means that it's mutating and adapting to the player's action, and it can change. So you are supposed to develop different technologies and plan operations, build alliances to unite the planet or destroy your rivals. And I think it would be interesting to show you a little trailer involving some gameplay footages from the game itself. Oops, skip the slides. So I joined Snapshot with the main role to create and animate aliens. But by create, I mean their movement style. The modeling is not done by me. And as you can see, they're far from humanoid, with possible mutations in their limbs, also heads, or any part of their body can mutate. And apart from the mutation itself, the body part system is also used to give more strategy depth. You can aim and shoot directly in order to disable movement or disarm weapons. You can also aim to disable an ability that comes with a specific body part. And apart from that, you can also use the body part mechanic to customize the friendly units. So in the early concept of a creature, alongside the visual itself, the game designers also define the purpose of the creature from the tactical point of view. It's really important to plan the separation of the body parts early on, their abilities, so the game stay balanced. And even when the final concept is not approved, you can see early concepts there on the screen. Everybody from the team start working on passes, so they're fastly synced. The modelers start blocking out the model, and it's rigged and skinned as soon as possible, so a first pass animation is done. If there are changes on the model, the animator convert the work in progress data to the new model and continue from there on. But pretty much we strive to sync before any final work is done. And besides, we all know final is a myth. It's usually final new version 2, and so on. But anyway, when the creature is pretty much done on fronts, when it has its low poly mesh separated according to the game design document, and we also have the rig, skin, and animation all also done, we proceed in exporting the file in 3 main directions. So we have the rig file. It's an FBX rig, which will serve later on as a matrix. We have also a rig and animation in the same FBX. And the third is to import all the separated meshes that's going to represent a body part inside the engine. They will, as a prefab, they will contain the adjacent mesh and also the respective part of the rig, which will bring the information for the skin of that mesh. And as we having the master rig file, we are allowed to dynamically swap body parts with any of its equivalent while keeping the same animation. It's basically having the code read and search for the same joint names that are from the prefabs that match the same joint names from the rig. And since we also have the very rig, as we said, in the animation file, that's how the body parts know the assigned information from the animation file. And what we just saw, including this example, is the first case where we have body parts that share similar anatomy. Their proportions are the same of the body parts, so we have one set of bones, and the skin is the different skin is skinned to the same joints. But we have another case where we also have the same proportions in terms of the joint position, the shoulder, legs, and so on. But the design requires a different mass for the animation. So that's why we have 2 different animations to amplify the weight difference in the creature. And we have the third case, which is a little bit more complicated because It's when we have body parts that are pretty different in their proportions. It's for example, the size is different and they require different bones. They even have, some of them have elements that are completely missing in their equivalent body parts. So in these cases, in order to express the difference in the body parts, we need to have separate additional bones for them. As you can see, for example, the left one have that swirly, curly movement of the soft tissue that's completely missing in the right one. It has instead a really bony, armory thingy, and it's moving much heavier. Also the arms, if you see, they have totally different joints for the arms. And this is when it starts to get a bit confusing. But it was important to introduce you our body parts system first and tell you how we achieved the assignment of a random mutation. And since we are talking about a game here where optimization is a thing, and also avoiding complicated state machines with all kinds of possible transitions and avoiding endless lists of animation clips is strongly desirable, the actual goal was to achieve the same creature using the same animations, but having them with all of the mutation possible, using the same animations for no matter which mutation is assigned. And what does the subtitle of the talk even mean? Same character, same animation, different movement. It's tricky because I told you about the third case scenario where we have different body parts which require different bones in the rig. But at the same time, I told you that we use a master rig to combine the animations with the body parts. Then how does our goal was achieved in having the same character play the same animation files if it has different rig parts in the body parts? This is one animation, start climbing, and we have the siren, same character, with two possible mutations for the arms. They are different. One of her hands is like a blade, and the other one is like an injector. So they require to move differently, and in order to move differently, they require different joints. But they are animated in the same file, in the same animation file. And this is the answer to the question. We have one master rig that contains all of the possible joints that any of the mutations will ever require. And in the animation file, the source file, they're all animated, even if they require additional animation of the second pair. So when we watch these two sirens, we already know that it's the same character. They are using the same animations at the very same time, but their movement of the arms is different because I went through all of the animations that required it and animated them individually. And it might seem like a huge amount of work, and it is, but it's easing the programmer's lives so much. And I don't even need to tell you how much these guys love me at work. So, the next one is the rigging. And After everything I said so far about the rigging part and the body parts mechanics, I believe you will trust me how important it was to choose the right rigging solution. And as an independent studio, we were looking for alternative to the solutions that main companies are using. But the main goal was to skip the game. The main goal was to support multiple-legged, odd joint, non-symmetrical, anything that isn't humanoid, and most importantly, the ability to make changes on it on any given time and do it quick. And since the modeling part wasn't a concern in our case, we were looking especially for rigging and animation solution, and that's how we found out Akitsu. And let me tell you a little bit about Akitsu. It might not be for that long on the market, but it has several traits that all of the animators in Snapshot just love about it. I even got so excited about it. It's had brilliant way of melding rigging and animation solution. And before I get into this next bit, full disclosure, I am not by any chance a rigger. I'm an animator. So I've been always dependent on the rig I've been given. How much can this joint rotate? How many joints are in this IK chain? Is this bone stretchy or floaty, and etc. And for the animators in the audience, it's clear that no matter what you're given, sorry riggers, sooner or later we will ask for 5 more degrees on this controller over here, on this limiter over here, or can I have a controller for these little parts over there? And here's the thing, it's in our nature to try to push animations to its limits. And these 5 degrees more will let me get that perfect pose and that animation. And now, we hate asking, and I suppose it's not just me who doesn't have any idea what kind of sorcery the riggers do under the hood to get us these 5 degrees, but really wants it. And when we're talking about the rigging in Akitsu, setting an IK and FK is made so easy and so elegant. It's complete with the pole vector control. It's also the switching between IK and FK happens at the very moment. You don't even need a keyframe to switch it. It's just happening at the same time simultaneously. Oh, I didn't say that right, but... also, the bending, you can decide at any given moment how much you want to bend a given joint. And I will demonstrate a clip with the rigging. When I want to, for example, create a new IK chain, for example, that front leg, I add the joint, select the last and first of the joint, and click. I have an IK controller. I quickly go to skin the mesh to the joints, 2 clicks, and I have a first pass of the skin. For the example, it's enough. So I go to animation to just imagine you're doing 1 week of animation, not just 1 minute for this example. I'm animating, I'm moving, going back and forth, but it's at some point I find out that something is missing. There is something that is not quite right about my animation. And no matter where I'm going, it's just not working. And I start to think that, maybe to get what I need an additional joint over there. Okay? So I just go to the rigging part, I delete the old IK, I just do a middle joint whenever I wanted it. And again, I select the first and the last joint, create the new IK. Then the only thing left is to fix the skin. Select the mesh again, skin it, so the new joint knows which part of the leg should be in control of. Check it really quick if it worked. And I go back to animation. And what we have here, animation is still there. The old IK is missing because I deleted it, but I just need to go and open it on the layer again to include the new IK. And from there on, the same animation, I just continue from the new IK with the additional joint I just put in there. And it's still working. That's the most impressive thing with having so many creatures with so many different parts that I already mentioned are subject to change at any given moment. To have that ability to just works, it's so. Apart from the rigging, I will say a few things, spoilers, a few things about the animations. And all I need to say about animation with Akitsu is on this very screenshot. So first of all, we look at the interface, which is cleaned up of all the buttons and options and clickers and everything that you don't even use and don't even know that exists in mainstream softwares. And as a, I don't know, I was looking for the perfect word to describe it to my friends from Akitsu, and I just couldn't think of anything else but cute. Also, we have the king as full body king. I don't know how many of you come from a traditional animation background, but I'm happy to say that here, when you key everything on the layer. Goodbye to forgetting to select a controller, and then you search for what's wrong for 10 minutes and wondering why I didn't key everything after I selected all. So it keys everything. But at the same time, if your mind suddenly clicks and you need to have a certain part of the body on a different layer, you can always extract it, animate it, use the visual difference between the keys for overshooting or such kind of effects, overlapping and so on. You just put it on another layer. And honestly, with so many body parts, it's really helping me keep the parts under control on a different layer. It's a little bit like having it in an animation group. Another thing about this messy screenshot at the first glance is the curve board. I can have the curve board as a background on the very canvas on which I animate. I don't need to have my eyes wander on the second screen, if I have one at all. And I just put it on when I need it and put it off when I don't. I also have the ghosting option over there, which helped me see whatever I need to see in the. It could be only one frame in the backward and forward, or every one of them. And what was something else about? Oh yeah, selecting the character. Now, we don't have the geometrical shapes around the characters here. I just select, to select a body part that I want to animate, I just click on the creature itself. The Akitsu know which part of the mesh does this skin belongs to, so you're one step closer to your animation because you click directly on the character. And copy pasting is pretty reliable too, especially for the game industry, where you have all these animations with starting, ending, looping, separation of the clips, where you need to have them starting and ending at the same pose. It's really reliable, and you can trust that if you copied it, you paste it. And a final note to what it feels like animating non-existing creatures, or maybe they exist, but it's a part of a conspiracy theory. References. Well, it's fun to animate non-existing creatures because nobody really knows how they should look like or move like. So you're free to design the movement on your own. There's not wrong and there's no right. But since the human brain has the ability to try to relate what you don't know to what you already know, you unconsciously try to see similarities between things that you perfectly know how they work. And so that's why it's pretty important to have references from real creatures to observe how they move, how their body structure is designed, and in general, learn a little bit of anatomy there. And in the end of the day, it turns out to animate alien creatures is pretty fun. And I would like to welcome my friend Charlie from Akitsu to also tell you a little bit about the software.
Hi there. So thank you, Elena. Thank you for the talk. The idea of today and the reason why we're sponsoring the talk is so that you guys learn about Akitsu, obviously, and that it's a production-ready tool. So I hope that some of you will be willing to try it in your own time. I won't spend a lot of time on stage, but I just want to tell you a bit about where we are with the tool. It was launched so the company was founded in 2014. We had a beta start in 2016. The first release was in 2017, and quite lately, we've announced the roadmap until the end of this year. So really, what we want to build with this one is the ultimate tool set for 3D animators. And so in September, there are things, the thing that I think that we'll notice is that we're still improving on our IK and reverse foot controllers. So although they're quite advanced and I think better than what can be found on the market, we're still improving on them. In October, so I know that Elisa is really expecting that feature a lot. We're going to add additive layers. We're also going to rework the way we do skinning. So we have what we call a dual skin process in the software. We are going to make it a little more precise with a geodesic voxel binding under the hood. And a lot of other things that were you don't have necessarily like major features in there. You also have like community requests because we're trying to pay attention to what our users are saying. And then finally in December, we're going to add a facial blend shape workflow. And the idea of it is really that you would basically animate your face animation just like you would do when doing puppetry in a motion design environment. So that's all I had for you today. Maybe you guys have questions that you want to ask either to Elena, the sorceress of Akitsu, or to me. So I'll answer you on what we have as learning resources available, and I think maybe Elena can say a few words on her own experience. In terms of online resources, we have like about 20 tutorial videos online. We also have a full technical documentation that is available on the website. We also run a Discord server where most of the dev team is actually paying attention. So we do have a technical artist at the studio that is answering requests and trying to navigate new users through the interface and can provide ad hoc advice. As a final word, what I would like to say is, compared to other, if you know Maya, if you know 3ds Max, I think working with Akitsu at first will be quite,
oh, where is this? I can't find it.
Because it's very simplistic at first, but the idea is that it's simple, but not at the extent to which you're losing control. So what we actually most of what we do is still preserve like the technical possibilities, but hide them under the hood so that it's easy for you to work with them. So at first you would probably say like, oh, okay, it looks very simple, and it is, but it's still a very powerful tool under the hood.
Well, if you're an advanced Maya user, as Charlie said, at first you will be a little bit stressed in terms of where all these things that are missing. But in the course of action and working with Akitsu, you will slowly find out that you don't even need all of this that Maya provides as an animation tool if you're doing especially frame-by-frame animation and you're striving to just release your creativity in moving kind of terms, not options and I don't know, tool-wise things. And if you're not that much of experienced in any kind of software, but you're just starting, even better, because Akitsu is extremely easy to learn. You just need to, there may be 10 or 20 videos from the documentations that Charlie mentioned. I maybe watched 3 or 4 only of them,
I mean,
and
most of the
I jumped in animation right away because I know this where I need this, okay, and I need this. Oh, this is fine enough, and I want to just animate. Developing mean trying different stuff, and you just search for the direction that you instincts tell you that it is. That's what my art direction meant to me. And in terms of how it felt, it's a bit disappointing, I agree, and this is maybe the hardest part of being part in a game industry or maybe in filming industry too, to have all of your work completely scrapped out. It's hard, but at the end of the day, if you're thinking of, okay, it's not scrapped because it still exists, I still did it, it's just not gonna be visible to anybody else out of the studio, and only one version will proceed the final development. And in terms of believable, as you asked, yeah, there were a case of a creature that had a really strange tentacle thingy. I'm really afraid to say anything else, but and it wasn't believable enough, so we just went to the safe side and do it as a jellyfish instead. And also there were the reverse case scenario. I know that the question didn't involve that, but there was the inverse case scenario where the art direction was requiring from me something that I totally didn't agree with, and but if we do it the other way, and I did it real quick, I just show it one-on-one, and he actually really liked it. And actually the siren is exactly the result of that suggestion to the art direction. But here's the thing, you can't really be too pushy about ideas. It's just on one-on-one free talk with, oh, you want to check something cute that I made, la 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 la. But and if it goes serious, then fine. With lots of beer. Well, yeah. In software-wise, the layers were pretty much helping me, and when I animate, I hide all the body parts that I'm not focused on at the moment. and I animate just one pair of body part. Then I hide that one when I think it's finished, you know about the finished already. I go to the second part, and I try to animate it. And if I see that the rest of the body, like the example with the siren, if I see that the tail is totally not possible to sync with the second part that I started just now, then I know already, I have on mind what I did with the first part. So having that on mind, I start tweaking again the whole body so it fits the second part. And then I go back to the first part and make slight changes so it's adequate with the new rest of the animation. And it's pretty tough to have 10 additional body parts, or I don't know, maybe more. I haven't counted them. But it's all the time tweaking and going back, tweaking and going back. You don't have, just say goodbye to final. Nothing's final. And be ready to make changes. Sometimes I've been requested a new mutation that was just changed. The concept was just changed. And I go to a working file from 6 months ago that I haven't even touched. And I need to make some more changes on that file after all. It's really easy to export it because even before starting even creating the rig, you have the option to say, hey, I'm going to use this rig for Unity. And when we are exporting the three main directions that I said, they are combined in Unity. And when you want to check animations, you do first pass animation in Akitsu, then you import it, even if the rest of the game isn't ready yet and the three things are not even synced. You're still able to export your whole character, the mesh, the rig, the animation, everything, and just play it on. I personally use just a simple timeline in Unity to have the whole character in the scene, and I'm having animation clips on the timeline to check them, and this is allowing me to see the transition if I'm doing them by hand, in keeping on mind that this is gonna be the way that after that the state machine is gonna transition them. So I can see how much of a transition I want to have between them and sync that with the programmer afterwards. And also by saying programmer, I have a programmer just behind my desk, and we're talking all the time, absolutely all the time. Every 5 minutes we sync something between each other and ask him, hey, is this possible? Hey, when I'm gonna use that animation? Do I need this animation? And so on. And in terms of something, let me think. You have that thing with the four joints for the vertices of the skin thing. Let me explain it. You can have one vertex be affected by maximum of 4 joints in Unity. And, oh, this is something I want from Akeytsu. Because it supports up to 8 vertices. But it's also transferable, and you don't really lose that much of a... I don't even see difference in the animations when I lose these extra more than 4 influences. And there are a few options in Unity when you import that you need to do. You have a rig tab, your animation tab, and things. And most of them, you're able to, sooner or later, learn to do them by yourself. But you will also... I hope you also have a programmer who will be helping you from time to time and reminding you, oh yeah, that you should click that. But if you don't, I think you can still learn these things on the way I think, but it's so syncing really good. I'm really happy with how it sync with Unity.
So thank you for adding a feature to the shopping list, Elena. As you've seen, we're a bit busy until the end of the year, but we'll keep that in mind. Regarding your question, the two platforms, the two game engines we focus on is, in terms of compatibility, is definitely Unity and UE4. So we strive to make it as good as it can be. We work through a .fbx export to interoperate with other game engines. Usually what you see in the software is what you get in the engine. There are rare cases where you can have complications, but that always happens. You can't be perfect.
So far, the only complications I've get is that I didn't click on a import setting the right way that it's supposed, but I've never actually had difficulties. Oh, why is it not working like it was? Kind of situations, no.